Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is ban on hijab, head scarf and reaction of Muslims and other political leaders. So, my lesson plan will include why is it in the news, and then what were the judgments of Karnataka High Court, position of women in Islam, constitutional provisions regarding freedom of religion, conscience, culture, education in our constitution, and finally conclusion. So friends, one by one I will take up these points. But before starting my lecture, please share my channel AJIS Academy on YouTube and like my Facebook page, where you will get numerous videos relating to Indian history, Indian constitution, Indian geography, Indian economy, general science, general mathematics and logical reasoning. So you need not go anywhere. So friends, I will discuss one by one under these points. You see, this is the map of Karnataka, one of the state of India, and now this is Udupi in the western coast of Arabian Sea. So Udupi has been the great religious and educational centers. Friends, as you know that the great philosopher Madhvacharya, who propounded the theory of Dvait Advaitvad, he constructed so many temples in Udupi. So Udupi is a district and a seat of great learning in South India. Why is it in the news? Friends, as you know that in January 2022, a dispute pertaining to school uniform erupted in Udupi in Karnataka, where Muslim students wearing hijab in a junior college were denied entry on the ground that it was violation of the uniform policy of school. Now the dispute has spread to other colleges, schools in Karnataka and other parts of country. Now the Karnataka government issued a notification on 5th February, and by which making uniform policy was made mandatory or to be worn compulsorily. Now no exception can be made of wearing a hijab. Now petitions were filed on behalf of the aggrieved students of that school. Karnataka High Court on Tuesday dismissed petition held by a section of Muslim students from the government pre-university girls college in Udupi seeking permission to wear hijab inside the classroom. Karnataka High Court said that there was no material placed on record to prima facie so that wearing the head scarf was an essential religious practice. The court also said that the school uniform will cease to be uniform if hijab is allowed to be worn. Court said that what is made recommendatory by the Holy Quran cannot be metamorphosed into mandatory dicta by a hadith which is treated as supplementary to the scriptures. Friends, as you know that in Islam, hadith I mean the tradition or sunnah, I mean the daily life practices of Prophet Muhammad, these are also the complementary source of Islam in addition to Quran, Holy Book Quran. So what is it that Holy Quran doesn't mandate the wearing of hijab or headgear for Muslim women. The judgment was criticized by a number of political leaders, particularly Muslim leaders, and according to them, to uphold the ban on hijab or headgear is a violation of fundamental rights to freedom of religion, culture and expression. Some of the petitioners approached the Supreme Court against the verdict of Karnataka High Court. The girls stuck to their stand that they will not enter into the college without the headscarf and will fight the case legally. Now I switch up to another point, position of women in Islam. Friends, as you know that when Prophet Muhammad established Islam religion in 7th century AD, it was most democratic religion and men and women in Islam were treated equal. Now, with the passage of time, so many abuses crept into Islam like in other religions. So what is it that Quran doesn't explicitly require Muslim women to cover their faces or heads. There is no mention at all. Number one. Number two, according to Hadith and Sunnah, observance of sexual modesty and plain dress for both Muslim men and women is prescribed. Again, the practice of forced veiling is not due to any universal Islamic code. The practice has arisen under different contextual circumstances. Again, the dress code imposed by Taliban in Afghanistan, reason for schoolgirls to wear head scarf, is an example of forced veiling. Although Islam doesn't prescribe for compulsory veiling of women. Men were in Taliban, what do you find? In Afghanistan, under Taliban, we find that men were forbidden to shave their beards, forbade both men and women to participate in sports. In Islam, both men and women have an independent economic position. Women are at liberty to buy, sell, mortgage, lease, borrow or lend or sign contract on legal documents. Women can donate money, act as trustee, set up a business or company. She has a complete control over dower, mahar or bridal gift. So friends, what is she? That position of women in Islam was far better than other contemporary religions of the world. But with the passage of time, conservatism penetrated into Islam, and since Islam had been ruling major part of the world for 1000 years, so many abuses crept into Islamic society and women became the convenient tool for the Islamic ruling elite. Now I switch over to another point, the constitutional provision regarding freedom of religion, conscience, culture, education. In our constitution, friends, as you know that we have adopted a democratic constitution, a secular constitution, a constitution where minorities have been guaranteed fundamental rights. Now under Article 25, freedom of conscience, profession, practice and propagation of religion, were guaranteed. Now, but propagation doesn't mean conversion. You can't convert a person of other religion by way of temptation, allurement, or by force. So, what you see, that subject to public order and public health, all persons are equally entitled to the freedom of conscience and the right to profess, practice and propagate religion. Again, the right to propagate doesn't mean alluring a person to join any other religion. And so in Catena of Judgment, Supreme Court forbade conversion of a person from one religion to another by way of force, allurement or temptation. A constitution bench of the Supreme Court in a group related case in 1977 called the Stanislaw versus State of Madhya Pradesh ruled that Article 25(1) doesn't give the right to convert but only the right to spread the tenets of one's own religion. Again, the Supreme Court was delivering the verdict about the legislation made in MP and Odisha to outlaw conversions based on force, fraud and allurement in 1968. Article 26 gives freedom to manage religious affairs. Subject to public order, morality, health, every religious denomination or any section thereof shall have the right to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purposes, to manage its own affairs in the matters of religion, to own and acquire movable and immovable property, and to administer such property in accordance with law. Article 27 guaranteed freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any practice, any particular religion. No person shall be compelled to pay any tax for religious purposes. If the government has done any service for a particular religious denomination, the government is free to charge fees from the devotees. Article 28 divides educational institutions into 4 categories: wholly maintained by the state, recognized by the state, receiving aids out of the state funds, administered by the state but established under a religious endowment in the first case. There can be no religious instruction whatever. In the first case, there can be no religious instruction whatever. In the second and third case, religious instructions can be imparted, but the people cannot be compelled to attend such institutions. In the fourth case, there is no restriction whatsoever as far as religious instructions are concerned. Now, under Article 29 and 30, minorities have been guaranteed fundamental rights. And under Article 29, it provides to any citizen of India having a distinct language, a script and culture the right to conserve it, and the state cannot impose any language or culture on that group. Again, under Article 29(2), a state that no citizen can be denied admission to any state maintained or aided educational institution only on ground of race, religion, caste or language. Again, Article 30 is based on religions or language which is to be determined on the basis of population of the state. All minority, whether religious or linguistic, have the right to establish and administer their own educational institutions. Number 1. If the property of a minority educational institution is taken over by the state, adequate compensation can be given, must be given by the state. The Supreme Court observed that the right to administer is not the right to maladminister. Also, management should be effective, but universities cannot regulate the composition and personnel of the managing bodies. So we see that large scale autonomies have been provided to institutions managed by minorities. The Supreme Court also observed that the right to administration is not the right to maladministration. The university can put basic qualification for the selection of teachers. Conscience, what is conscience? Conscience means absolute inner freedom of the citizen to mold his or her own relation with God in whatever manner he or she likes. We see that from Article 25 to Article 30, adequate measures have been adopted for safeguarding right to religion and right to minorities. Now, conclusion. What conclusion we derive from this lecture? Friends, as you know, the right to religion under Article 25 to 28 and right to minority under Article 29 and 30 are not unfettered rights. These rights are subject to public order, public health and morality. Again, a state has power to check upon their fundamental rights if their use by citizens and non-citizens may cause breach of security of the state, disturb the friendly relation with the neighboring countries, with foreign countries, affect sovereignty and integrity of India, leads to incitement to an offense or defamation or contempt of court or against decency and morality or may disturb public order. All these factors may lead to curtailment of fundamental rights guaranteed under Article 25 to Article 28 and 29, 30 and even Article 19, which gives right to freedom of expression and speech. So friends, our fundamental rights are not unrestricted rights. Fundamental rights can be restricted for the safety of our country, for the sovereignty and integrity of our country. And I have enumerated so many clauses whereby a state has unfettered right to curtail fundamental rights guaranteed to citizen, non-citizen and minorities. So friends, I am winding up this lecture. I hope that you might have relished my lecture. If you like, please share and subscribe my channel AJIS Academy Indore, and please write comment in the comment box. Thank you very much.